Well, yes, I did see that as an important aspect in terms of how we frame the future of disaster risk management to go back to where we've been in the past, and our thought has evolved throughout time. So, we first started off in the engineering paradigm. We then moved to the behavioralist paradigm. Next, it was the development paradigm. And finally, many people believe that we're in the complexity paradigm. Of course, it's not that these paradigms exist sequentially. Yes, it's been an evolution of thought, but at the same time, there are opportunities for these paradigms and schools of thought to coexist, actually. And I think maybe in the future, that's where the greatest potential lies in terms of not identifying with one particular paradigm, but using the best concepts out of different paradigms to achieve action and progress on particular aspects of this whole problematic of disaster risk management. Let's acknowledge that the complexity paradigm is just that, too complex. It's been critiqued as being very theoretical. Be that as it may, there are some great ideas and concepts in that paradigm that doesn't presently exist in the development paradigm, given that we're talking about the future of disaster risk management, given that the complexity paradigm, encompasses the interplay of humans and the environment in complex adaptive systems, also known as social ecological systems. But of course, I'm not the best person to explain these things to you. But I think it's where we should start the discussion because it is a future of complexity. It is a future where climate change is changing disaster risk. And if that's our future, then I think we should start off in that paradigm. Well, of course, yeah. I mean, there are some uncertainties in terms of, our understanding of exactly how, but the IPCC CREX report 2012 and even what was released, I believe, is it earlier this year or late last year? Yes, 2013, I believe, the physical science basis report is increasingly telling us that the probabilities around disaster risk will change, not just in terms of hazards. The three determinants of disaster risk are, as I conceptualize it, there's some differences in thought around this. It would affect hazard probabilities, the vulnerability of social systems, as well as exposure. So, yes, definitely there is a connection there, and I think, moving forward in terms of, how we conceptualize the future of disaster risk management, we definitely need to take that into account and recognize the central role that a changing climate is going to have on how we manage disaster risk. If we're talking about the future of disaster risk management, and framing that and what that should look like in terms of manifesting itself in the form of HFA2, that we should also make an effort to frame, even though it's an imperfect framing, what the future of development will look like, social systems would look like. Because then you would have, even though if it's an imperfect link, a link between, the future operational environment within which we have to apply HFA2. And if we try to conceptualize what that would look like, right now we're over 7 billion. We might be, 9 billion then? it's not the same as, planning for 7 billion people. I think it's very important to, try and frame that future so that we get an idea of how robust HFA2 should be to deal with any scenario that plays out within the 10, 20, or 30-year timeline, whatever they decide the timeline for HFA2 would be in terms of implementation. Yeah, I think that's critical. The literature is moving us forward in terms of really seriously thinking about moving towards transformation of social systems and social structures. Yeah, and that's one, in my opinion, very important concept that exists in the complexity paradigm that we should try and bring in into our discussion and our thinking and conceptualization of HFA2 going forward. To me, it speaks to that robustness, and linking HFA2 to what, may be the reality, So I think it is a worthwhile thing to do, even though it may be difficult.